May 4th, 2026, coming at you from a beautiful evening in Middle Island, New York. My name is Christopher Colantuono, and this is the Geowizdom Podcast. Last week, I spoke on Quadragesimo Anno, and more to the point, I brought up how the left wing of socialism is a dirty, dirty wing, and the right wing of fascism or crony capitalism out of control is also a dirty wing, and they are two dirty wings of a dirty, filthy bird flying right into the mountain. Now, what's the answer to that? Well, furthermore, in Quadragesimo Anno, Pope Pius XI discusses the idea of subsidiarianism. And what is that? It is the concept that the smallest group possible should be responsible for any task. And not only should they be responsible, but it is a moral imperative. And moreover, if any institution, whether it's the local government taking the role of the family, whether it would be the province or the state taking the role of the county, or whether it's the federal government taking the role of the individual states, that's inherently evil. And the reason is they are not going to be as good at finding an effective solution. And the core of all Catholic social teaching lies with the Holy Family. The Holy Family was what Jesus Christ chose to be the vehicle for his entry into the world, for his material success in the world, such as it was, and moreover, for his maternal, paternal care. And it says something that St. Joseph has the title of Terror of Demons. And he knew, he was warned that he had to take the child Jesus out of Bethlehem. He knew that this was not the son of his flesh, but he was going to be destined for great things. And he also knew that this was going to cost him some, whether it was his reputation, whether it was his own progeny happening with Mary. And the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception, is, as the Mother of God, the most perfect individual outside of Christ that has ever lived. And up to the virgin birth, we think of the Hebrews and their search of the Ark of the Covenant in my generation, made famous, most famous through the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. Thank you very much, Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg. But once Christ's body was contained in the Blessed Virgin Mary, she became the Ark of the Covenant, because Jesus Christ, through his blood, made the new covenant with us. Now, how does all of this tie in to the whole concept of subsidiarianism? It ties in because the Holy Family is how Jesus Christ chose to institute his reign from an early age. Now, if the family is where Christ chose to be, fully God, fully man, what does that tell you about a governmental system that we have, for instance, in the state of New York, that will insert itself at every instant from the smallest level to the largest level into the family and interfering with the family and interfering with the right order of the family. And then what could we say about an unjust system that sees nothing wrong, for example, on just the word of one spouse or the other, ripping them out of their household and basically dividing and conquering between two lawyers, whatever their possessions would be, without ever considering the material and spiritual good of the family, much less, if there's any children, the good material and spiritually of the children. Well, we'd have to look at that as a system that's inherently evil. Now, let's take it a little further. If we have a local government, well, I could tell you around here, about 50% of your property taxes going to go to your local teachers and your police officers. It doesn't matter what kind of job they do. It's not negotiable. You have to pay these taxes by force of law. And that's something that could be argued if you can't afford your taxes. I don't know how fair that is. I don't know how just that is. Well, let's keep going. From the county level. Well, I can tell you on Long Island, in the early 70s was when the first sales tax was instituted. I believe it was 3%. They said it's only 3%. It's only 3%. Well, both counties, I believe, sales tax stands right around 8.75%. And again, where does it go? I don't know. Let's take it a little further. Let's take it to the state government. Well, the state government oversees the lottery. The lottery is supposed to pay for the education system. Well, we already decided that almost half of your property taxes is going to education. And I can tell you that many lottery tickets are sold in New York State every day. So, I don't know, something seems a little bit corrupt there as well. Let's take it past the state government. Let's take it to the federal government. We have basically 535 elected officials, maybe 435 of which, maybe more, taking a large chunk of money every election cycle from foreign interests, whoever they may be. And yet they are selected to represent us in the Congress. Now, Congress holds the power of the purse, ostensibly. The Congress decides where our tax money is going to go. So if a good portion of a congressperson, whether it's a congressman or a senator, is receiving their money on behalf of a foreign entity, is it really surprising that we have 800 military bases around the world? Is it very surprising that we have militarily funded the genocide in Gaza? Is it very surprising that we are materially supporting the wiping out, the ethnic cleansing of Lebanon right now? It's not surprising at all. Now, why is this a grave evil, you may ask? You could really spell this out to a 4-year-old and they'd say, well, that's just not fair. And that's really one of the things when we talk about Catholic social teaching and why we say the left and the right are really just two dirty wings of the same bird. It is because of the credit system. So our money being printed by a private organization, which it is right now, a group of unelected officials print our money. A group of unelected officials decide what our credit score is going to be, which means what the price of our money is going to be. And many of these people, again, are citizens in other countries, have holdings in other countries. And at what point do we say we've had enough? Now, a lot's been said about the divide between generationally between baby boomers and Generation Z. And, for myself, it's something I see as a large mistake. And the reason is, to dislike an age group is like disliking the color blue. It's like, so it's the color blue's fault that all this is happening. It's the baby boomers' fault that all this is happening. And when you have a problem that doesn't have an easy solution, scapegoats always are an attractive means of attack. But let's face it. Which baby boomer are we going to blame for maybe being drafted against their will, being sent to Vietnam, maybe, having body parts blown off or watching friends die? I can say my generation, which you could call, I don't know, on the borderline of the millennials and X, we didn't have that happen. There's been no draft. Generation Z certainly hasn't seen any of that. The divide that we have, it's a financial one, and no one wants to talk about it. So in, let's call it 1970, before that august day when Nixon floated the dollar, August 15th, 1971. Before that time, let's say about 2.5 years' salary would purchase a home on Long Island where I grew up. And now I could say the average salary, which is, let's say, I don't know, around 60 grand. That's not going to purchase a home for at least your average home for, let's say, 10 years. So now it's like 10 years salary. It was at 2 years salary. This is where the anger comes from. 10 years salary, 2 years salary. And the reason for all of this is the fact that we have allowed the control of our financial system to get out of the local level into the hands of, we can't call it federal, we'll call it quasi-federal. So and when I say quasi-federal, I mean that it's not really a federal organization, but it carries a title that makes you think of that, and board members can be appointed by a sitting president, but it doesn't really come under federal control. So until we address that, we're not going to fix this problem. And again, it's a hard problem because a lot of people are going to lose money no matter what. The young people, not only are they losing money, they are despairing of ever seeing enough money to get married, buy a house, create a family, right? All those things which lead to a healthy society. Now, take it a step further. If Jesus Christ used the Holy Family as his vehicle for affecting change on earth, and we have a system in place which not only rejects the family, and that's true in public school. Girls are just constantly hammered with the concept of, why are you going to waste your life if you wanted to be a housewife? If a man wants to marry a girl, if he's 22, he wants to marry a girl that's 19 or 20, what are you going to throw your life away? Constantly is the narrative being thrown. So I would have to say that narrative that's being thrown at us is anti-family. So if we have an anti-family government, it's inherently anti-Christian and particularly anti-Catholic. So until we get back to the very simple point that every problem is a local problem and can be dealt with locally, at least at the start, we are not going to get anywhere. And again, I can look to the right, I can look to the left. Both wings are dirty, but the dragon's right in front of me. And in order for us to take it on, we have to look it right in the eye and say, there will be blood sweat and tears to fight through this, because we're in a bad place. And it's very important for us to acknowledge that mistakes have been made by previous generations, but we're all victims of this crushing cycle of, and now I'm going to quote Pope Leo XIII in Rerum Novarum. We'll talk about that next week. Rapacious usury, which is crushing the soul of our nation. I am Christopher Colantuono. This is the Geowizdom Podcast. Have a great evening.